Today's operator showcase is going to be for Caper, a very accessible unit that you can get from the Red Voucher store. To get her, you just need 150 red vouchers, or if not, just 200 sanity. That's literally attainable in a day, and you'll have a lot of fun to use her in various game modes. Not so much on high-end content, but if you're someone who's just starting out, you want to see a good sniper in your account, this is the one to go for. Let me show you why from this stage. First big thing to note is that Caper excels in single target damage. No sort of crowd control or AoE, that's the job of Narantuya. That's what she can do in some of her skills. But for Caper, it's all about just hitting one person at a time. And in a stage like this where the enemies do come one at a time, you can see Caper kind of still works okay as a solo unit in the stage. But later, as you see Caper start getting swarmed with a lot of the mobs coming in, the slugs, she can only take them one at a time, and as a result, she needs some extra help to do so. If you want that sort of AoE, you might have mistaken Caper for Shirayuki. That's what Shirayuki is supposed to do, AoE, but AoE snipers attack very slowly, so they're nothing about single target. That's why both of them will fail the stage in their own way, since this stage has both things happening at once. Of course, you would have passed it if you used both of them, but this is just to show you their solo capabilities. Now, there's a few major things about Caper that you should have noticed. One is a unique range. She has the range of a sniper, and at the same time is able to handle the lane behind her. This is really good in terms of how you can position a unit like this, which I'll show quite a lot in this video. Then, the other thing you'll notice is that she doesn't have a constant attack speed. The further away the enemies are, the slower she actually attacks. Instead of the usual attack speed mechanic, Caper and Narantuya, as the Loopshooters, they have a mechanic called projectile speed. In truth, their attack speed is just about the same as an anti-air sniper, but that only happens when the enemies are within their closest 4 tiles, or if not the 8 tiles around them. So that's very similar to a Modo caster range. You think about centering all the enemies around them in order to maximize the damage. So this is going to be very important as to how you position Caper. If in this stage I were to position Caper the other way around, where she is more to the front and facing towards the blue box, we all have this tendency of placing our units facing to the blue box to protect it. But the thing is, you're not really maximizing that quicker projectile speed that she can get, since you want to handle the choke points of the enemies a lot better. So if you look at this scenario, she kind of attacks fast at the start, but later on, because the enemies go so close to the blue box, and she can't charge her skill enough in order to pop again and try to save this stage from failing. So you want to make sure that that square tile is where you prioritize. It's not to say that you can't use the extra range, but those extra range is something that you can use for putting in extra damage that you shall see later on. Actually, why wait? Let's just show you now. So this stage is for 10, and it's the one with Frost Nova. There was a very popular strategy back then of using Exia, Blaze, and Saria. So you can basically position Exia to eliminate the first phase, then the second phase, and if you need the extra damage, you can still reposition her again to face the front, and that's a total of 3 deployments in the stage. Can be quite a hassle, but why not let's just do it all in just a single deployment? So that's what Caper is able to do here. With that unique range, she's actually able to control 3 different lanes. So right from the start, I place Caper there to charge her skill by hitting the small mobs. Then, later on, she's able to use that skill against Frost Nova. I place J in order to isolate the enemies and not waste Caper's skill on the smaller mobs, but instead concentrate it all onto Frost Nova. And with all that damage being dealt, the first phase is actually done off just by Caper alone. Later on, because Frost Nova is able to deal that freeze, the slow on the attack speed, I need the help of someone like Meteor in order to deal extra damage and also do a bit of defense down in order to do all the damage using Caper's skill again. And the unique thing over here is that Caper has that square range, as you remember. So with that square range, it's actually very good at dealing with the middle lane of enemies. Again, I isolated the fight on the bottom. If any enemies were to leak, Meteor and Caper can handle it. And for the top lane, because there's the bigger guys, I'm using Gumi to actually hold on to them, and then Caper is able to deal them. So as you can see also, Frost Nova is on that second phase, and I'm basically using Caper's skill to eliminate her. Later on, there's that big shielder guy. I'll take the time to charge a skill, and with Meteor's defense down along with Caper, physical damage is actually able to peel this guy down, and it's a decent attack speed as you can see. So a very unique way of using Caper to control 3 whole lanes within the stage. I have been naming Caper's skill 2 without explaining to you what it is. So Caper's skill 2 has a very high charge requirement. It's an offensive recovery skill. I have her at M3, so that's 25 SP. I believe it's about 28 if not 30 SP if you were to not have it at M3 but instead only at skill level 7. This is a pretty powerful skill again for single target. You can see that the attack is increased by quite a significant amount, and at the same time she can shoot 2 projectiles at once. This is super enhanced with the talent that she has. In fact, the reason why she is actually such a good 4-star is she has the exact same talent as the very powerful Cruise. She has a 25% chance of increasing her attack to 160%, and that is a very wonderful skill. It's kind of like crit rate and crit damage. So that skill too will help to amplify it so much more, and against high defense enemies, she can still do quite a bit of damage. So that should be big enough to promote to you that this is an interesting one in order to use in things like integrated strategies. There is also her skill 1, and her skill 1 isn't really a skill that I'll say to prioritize, not even to M3. It sounds again like all the other sniper skills, and you might argue, wait, isn't that a good thing? Because if I get ASPD up, it means that the first skill can pop a lot more, and therefore I can slap the enemies harder. But you must remember what I mentioned, that is attack speed does not matter for Caper. So attack speed does change a little bit of the animation. The projectile moving out will not move any faster with attack speed up. Instead, it's when the projectiles are received back and it's kind of like a reload and then they go out again, that short frame of animation will be quicker, but everything else stays the same until the day where we see projectile speed artifacts. Otherwise, ASPD relics don't actually benefit. The only time that skill 1 gets benefited is if you can increase her attack by a big amount, but even that might make me say, why not just use skill 2? And there is those relics that says that attack can increase by 60%, 65% or 100% on the first second of skill use. That might make the first skill relevant, but most of the time skill 2 is pretty safe. That long charge time might be a bit of a hassle, and you might say, why not just do the first skill? But if you're getting 6 times worth of the first skill, you would already have enough to clock in the second skill. So in a sense, I'd rather that you use that bigger damage all the time. So that's the thing for you to take note. Let's do one more round of showcase, and it'll be iconic to do it together with Narantuya. So we have both Caper and Narantuya in this stage. I have Lane, Taunts, and also Aya to do all the healing. So I'm relying solely on Caper and Narantuya to deal with the first wave of Dolly over here. Now, the good thing again is the square range of these two people. They can deal a lot of damage to everyone that is around them, and if so that there are no enemies, they'll just help to supply damage onto the other side of the map. So over here you can see that because of the bottles prioritization, Caper and Narantia are working together to destroy the bottles onto Dolly. As soon as Dolly is knocked down, I turn on Narantia's skill and Caper's skill in order to dish so much damage onto Dolly, and Narantia is benefiting for the fact that she is sitting right beside Dolly, having the fastest attack over there, and then also benefiting on her skill 3 that we will explain in a future operator showcase. When Dolly's second phase comes in and she goes all the way down, again I'm using Caper, Narantia, and this time with the help of Taunts and Lin for extra damage as well to deal with the bottles, and then later on turn on their skills. This time Narantia doesn't need to be redeployed in any way. You see, if this was a sniper, snipers will have a very finicky range as to how do I actually place them to control both lanes at the time. But in the case of Narantia and Caper, they are sitting really comfortably. They don't have to readjust, and Narantia, of course, not actually having the best number of attacks onto Dolly since she's far away, but is still able to do a big amount of damage. And then it's helping with all the other enemies that comes in as well. So this is a really nice way to show you the unique range of these two units, and of course, it's just iconic that I put Lin right beside as well. Lin is basically helping to spread all that white smoke. Any enemies that get in her range, because I set it to Lin's skill 2, they will always be set into that white smoke so as to deal more damage onto them. I hope you learned a lot from this operator showcase. Caper is truly a wonderful unit. Check out the other operator showcases over here, or watch my most recent video. Subscribe if you like this. See you soon. Bye bye.